Right, good morning everybody, and thank you for coming to the Scrutiny Committee for Adults and Health. Welcome everyone. I'd also like to obviously introduce myself. I think most of you know I'm Jill Slocum, the chair, and to my right is Claire Sully, who's the deputy chair. The agenda pack with papers is available on MudGov or directly from the council's website from the link that was sent out to all members. I'm requesting that members, officers turn off microphones and videos, but please remember to turn on microphones and videos when you speak. This helps with the background noise, call quality and everything else, as you know. When I invite somebody to speak, could you clearly state who you are for the benefit of everyone who's listening to the meeting so they can identify who's speaking? Please can I also remind all committee members to use the chat function solely for committee business and not other conversations that might distract. I warmly welcome all members of the public, media and all those online, committee members online today. The agendas are now viewed electronically, so could I request that members and officers refer to the page numbers and the published agenda, pack to assist all present in finding the appropriate information. The meetings, the committee programme is timed. We're trying to keep we're hoping to finish by 12 o'clock soon after. So we need to keep this precise, but obviously make sure that everyone has a good go. All right. So apologies for absence, Jamie.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, committee. We have received apologies from Councillor Lawrence, for whom Councillor Nicholson is substituting. We have also received apologies from Councillor Robbins, for whom Councillor Johnson is substituting. There are also apologies from Councillor Hobbs, and Councillor Pearlstone from the committee is online, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, the minutes of the previous meeting, we need to approve the minutes, which obviously Deputy was in charge of the 27th of February. Can I have your agreement that those minutes are okay? Thank you very much. It's carried. Thank you. Item 3 is declarations of interest. Do we have any, please? No? Very good. Thank you. Public question time. We have no public questions at the moment. No late speakers have offered.
None received, Chair.
Right, okay. So item 5, we're going straight into the work programme, which is page 17 to 20. And we need to know if we want to add any new items to the forward programme and keep the proposed items for the next agenda. What I propose to do is try to keep the agendas not massive, so that we've got an opportunity to speak on every item, not try to cram the agendas in with loads of bits and then we don't get a full say. So I'm trying to keep the agendas not long, but keep them with the information that you need. Okay?
Jill, I'm online. Jill, I'm online. I'm here. Christine.
Thank you, Christine. Lovely to welcome you. Thank you.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you, Christine. It's good you're there.
I can see you. Yeah.
Wonderful. I'm sorry about that. Thank you. Right. Yeah. Hang on a minute. Let me get the page. Because of my eyes, I'm having to do this on a bit of both, so I apologise. There may be a slight delay in me getting to the page required. Okay, so Jamie, do you wish to say anything first about the work programme?
The only thing I would add, Chair, is as a team, we are receiving numerous inquiries every day as to when the meeting calendar for 2025-26 will be finalised. We appreciate it's hugely frustrating. I understand it is with ELT at the moment, and I don't know where that discussion is at, but we do not have we have a draft that we've been asked not to share at this time in case there are any changes. But as soon as it's available, we will issue the new meeting calendar, which is why you'll see in the work programme that the meeting beyond the 15th of May, we've just put TBC at the moment because we're not quite sure when that would be. Roughly, going by the current time frame, it would probably be late June, maybe early July.
Thank you for that. Thank you. So I'll go to Councillor Sully.
Chair, thanks. Oh, good. Can you hear me? Oh. Could we consider bringing to the work programme that NHS England has been abolished in the last couple of weeks, and what those implications are for NHS Somerset and the partnership programmes, adults and health, how it will impact, and what mitigations we're putting in as a council. We bring that forward, and on that note, perhaps we should consider a sort of scrutiny of a service, or something like NHS Somerset, how NHS Somerset works with our services so that we can focus on one thing. And I think that works with your vision for the agenda of keeping the agendas very focused. Just for consideration.
Thank you very much. I think that's a good point. I think we need to make sure we give them enough time to know how this is going to be the work up. I think the programme is obviously at its early stages, but Councillor Wakefield, did you wish to say something? Sorry.
Well, actually, I was going to say, Emily probably got more thoughts about this. We work very closely with the NHS in a number of parts of the service, and so much so that we've got joint budgets and all sorts of things going on. We are very concerned about what the changes will be, and at the moment, it's very unknown how they're going to impact. And we are working with the IDB to try and, get some idea of what's going to happen. But Emily will know a bit more than me, so if you could have a quick word.
Yeah, so and I'm sure you're all aware, so the changes will not just be to NHS England, they will be to the ICBs as well. There was the publication that came out. I'll send you the link if you haven't seen it. And it's very high level detail at the moment for the ICBs in terms of laying the foundations of what the ICBs will look like in the future. There has been some internal communications that we know that has taken place within the ICB in Somerset. It is looking at 50% staffing reductions, and then the impact of what the ICBs will add, what their core function will be, will look very different to what they're doing at the moment because they won't have the resource. The impact then will be across in terms of to adult social care, children's social care, and wider council in terms of what does that mean for us and for residents within Somerset. But we can definitely put it on in terms of the agenda. Yeah, the time frames are slightly still unclear, but it may be something that we need the ICB to come in and comment on. But we do need to keep an eye on this because of the implications this potentially has across the organisation.
I think what I'd like to say at the moment, if I may, what we need to do is give them time. What I don't want to do is call them in too early and then they haven't got the relevant. So I think that's something we ought to put on the work programme. Maybe would September or later in the year be appropriate, do you think? September. Yes, proposing. Claire would like to propose for September. Is everybody happy about that? Yeah. And if they haven't got the relevant information, rather than get people here, then we can put it back. It's much better for them to come with a clear indication of what's going on than just come because we've called them. Okay? So thank you for that. So that will be on the September agenda. Okay. Are you happy? Sorry.
We have one online.
All right, thank you. No, sorry. Okay. Alison.
Hi, hello, Chair. I'm here for NHS Somerset today for David McClay. So thank you for the conversation. Certainly taken on board what you've just said. We hope to get some more clarity in a couple of months' time when obviously further information comes down to us. So I will certainly take that back to the ICB for us to have a conversation with you in the next few months.
That's really appreciated. Thank you very much. Thank you. The other thought I thought about, I wanted to put to members was about we can't go back over Yeovil, the stroke unit. We can't go back. We've got to go forward. But what I wondered was whether it would be nice to know how it's progressing, how that the ambulance service is working to bring acute patients that do need to leave Yeovil to get to Musgrove. And I wondered whether that would be Emily. Would you be able to comment on that? Whether that would be a good idea, bad idea, or
Yes, I think I think you've had something here at Scrutiny already, and it's about a follow-up then, isn't it?
Oh, it's not about the follow-up about the unit. We know the decision's been made. I'd like to know about the process. How is the process working? Has anybody been badly affected by it? Which we'll all bring together. Is everybody happy about that?
Yeah.
We could put that on the agenda on the work programme as well. That will be for a later date. Some of these may come in at different times, different dates, but at least if we get this on the agenda, on our work programme, we won't want to miss it. Has anyone else got any other thing? Councillor Wakefield.
Yes, I'd just say about that, I do think you need to give it a bit of time to bed in. And, obviously they might give you some statistics, but they won't obviously give you any individual details. But they might be able to say, we have taken so many patients across and this has happened within so many hours, or how quickly could it happen? Very quickly, I know. I'm sure they could do something like that, but I think you need to give it a bit of time to bed in.
Well, I think we'll give them to September for that one. But I think what we need to know is it's working. It's a very, very difficult decision that's to be made. And for us to have that confidence that it's working, I think would be really good for us. So does anybody else have anything else they'd like to put on the work programme? Is there anything pressing that if anyone would like to think about this, give it a bit of thought, if there's something, then you can email me, Jamie, and then we'll put that on the work programme. It's always an open, but we need to give time. We can't just put something on the next month. It's not fair to the NHS or anyone else we're going to bring forward. So I can leave that with you to think about that one. Is that okay? Oh, Councillor Bailey.
Thank you, Chair. I just wondered whether, in addition to this, we could actually have reports coming in as and when they are available, rather than wait till September. It's not on a formal basis, but if there's information that can be shared with this committee, then it could be useful to have it before then.
Certainly, I don't think we will get on this one anything before September. But of course, I think the problem is we're trying to do very, very important things in a tight timescale.
Yeah.
But if there is reports ready, of course, we'll make sure that all the members know.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Is everybody happy we move on to the next item? Oh, I'm sorry. Councillor Oates, please forgive me. I've got this eye problem as well as a leg problem. So Jamie is my left eye, so I can find out who's online. So Councillor Oakes, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, and can I just say what a pleasure it is to see you again. I've missed you. Claire was an excellent deputy, but it's good to have you back, Jill. Just the stroke unit thing that has not actually happened yet, to the best of my knowledge, because it relies on investment at Dorset County Hospital and investment at Taunton. They can't just close the stroke unit without there being the processes in place. So I think we're still going through that. Although there is new information coming out that may mean there's another attempt to call in from the Secretary of State, because things have changed quite a bit in the last few months. But I don't think at the moment, if you have a stroke, you actually go to Taunton. In fact, I know in many cases you don't. So I think it's probably a little bit early.
Fair point. What we'll do is I'll keep in correspondence with you, if I may, so that we know when the right time, then, okay? Because I think that's something we're a bit confused about now, because I think we thought it was all in place. So thank you for that, Councillor Oakes. Thank you. Councillor Lawrence.
I'm just checking on, have we had another dentistry update yet? Because we were all very concerned about our dentistry figures, and I don't know whether or not there's been time for you to gather any more information together.
The dentistry was at the last meeting, and which I listened into from my bed, and it was a very, I think dentistry is something that we need to call back in, because I think it's been well proven that different areas have different issues. It's not such a big issue in some parts of the Somerset as it is in others. So I think it's something we can go back to, frequently bring them back in dentistry. So thank you for that, Councillor Lawrence.
Thank you.
Councillor Sully.
Just to say, I have sent an email to the leader of the council on behalf of the scrutiny. I did it after the last scrutiny, so I'll follow that up and see, following the action and what we agreed. So I'll follow that up and see where we are with it.
Well, don't worry, that will make sure that all members know exactly where we are with that one. Okay, we're going to move on now to an very exciting part now, the budget monitoring, which is always complex and it's very, very important. And I think we have Christian Evans, who's going to really give us a really good presentation on this.
You're quite right, it's very exciting, Chair. Morning, everybody. Chris Evans, Head of Finance Business Partnering. So, yeah, this is the budget monitoring. So, month 10 at the end of January 24-25. Just to update you, we are in the current process. As you'd imagine, now we're in April. We're in the current process of closing down the accounts for 24-25 and then on to 25-26. So, at the next meeting, I'll hopefully provide you with a bit more information on the breakdown of the budget for 25-26 for adult social care and housing. So just a bit of an update for you. So moving on to where we are for month 10. So on a net budget of 239.417 million, the forecast underspent, which is great news, 4.266 million. So that's 1.8% budget underspent. There is actually an increase of underspend of 15,000 from month 9. Adult social care operations. So as you will all be aware, the project that we've been working on with Newton, My Life, My Future. You can see there the adult social care.
Excuse me, excuse me one moment. Sorry, Councillor Nicholson, you're trying to get hold of me.
Yes, can we have the 24-25 month 10 figures up rather than the 23-24? Right, showing it's headed month 10, 24-25, and it's showing a 7.17 million overspend. Isn't it? Is the one on the one in your papers, the one in the presentation?
No.
I think that's online.
Think so.
It says month 10.
Yeah, month
Yes,
10.
but look at the bottom figure, bottom right figure, 17 point.
That was last year.
Yeah, so why is it this year?
It's not yet this year, but if you look on the report that's in the pack on page 22, so we've got the 24-25 net budget information, and then it's just showing you what we were last year at the
I
end
see.
of last
Oh,
year.
so yeah,
That's
on the
not
report,
what we
yeah.
are.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see. So this isn't meant to be this year's.
No.
Right. Okay.
Yes, it's the comparison of 23-24 at the same stage.
But it's headed this year.
Yeah, well, it's just that one. Oh, sorry, I put my microphone on. The net budget for this year is the 239.417 million, and we're currently forecasted a 4.2 million underspend. So that is that's for this month in this year. The bottom line, the next bullet point underneath the 23-24 is just showing where we closed out of last year.
Okay.
But the 17.5 million is showing what we ended last year with. But obviously the line above is the 24. This is the update.
Oh, right. Okay. I apologise for completely misreading and completely misunderstanding. I don't think it's terribly clear.
No, I think I think it's very difficult, isn't it, when you've got to compare one year to the next, but I think perhaps that's a point that can be taken on board.
We can certainly take the 23-24 figure out. If that helps, it's normally useful comparison for all of the scrutiny.
Yeah.
No, absolutely, but it's just useful to have to make it clear what is going on, because when you have the RAG rating, it was last year's RAG rating, not this year's. Must be.
Should we?
I think we just need to carry. I think, can you put your microphone? Thank you so much. I think we'll just carry on.
Yeah,
You can carry on.
I'm
and you'll
happy
explain
to.
it.
Yeah, I'm happy to catch up later. We can
Yes,
run
please.
through the paper in
Thank you.
detail. Yeah, so on the slides here, you can see the net budget, 239 million. So we are predicting an underspend of 4.266 million. So adult social care operations, as I've said, so it's well documented regarding the work that we've been doing with Newton and My Life, My Future. That is showing an underspend of 3.299 million. You can see if you looked at the top two rows, so the residential nursing, there's a very big underspend there. And again, that's because we're obviously keeping more people at home, which is the whole objective of the project. And they see the overspend on home care, as you'd expect. So less people in residential homes and more people at home. So that kind of correlates. From a mental health perspective, the budget, so that includes individuals who have diagnosis for dementia. Mental health is forecasting an underspend of 1.492 million. That's an increase of 165,000 from Q3. Home care and supported living continues to be an area of growth. This is in line with enabling people, again, to remain at home. So that's obviously good. Learning disability. So learning disabilities is forecasting an underspend again of 4.272 million. That is an increase in underspend of 963,000 from Q3. However, this is a pool budget, 75% and 25% with the ICB. Any underspend will be split with the ICB, Integrated Care Board. The pressure of this split is reported within commissioning. The increase from Q3 is due to a direct payment surplus being returned that's higher than anticipated. And then finally, commissioning continued demand in intermediate care and the learning disabilities budget. We're working with health to mitigate any overspend with intermediate care, and I'll come to Emily later to explain a bit more about that. You're moving on to the next slide. So these where we have one of the questions or queries is around depletion of funds. So there's a graph there, the two tables there. You can see the graphs of contacts that we've had for 21, 22, 22, 23. So the monthly averages on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side, you will see that the trajectory for those depletion of funds below 23,250, you can see is going up. One of the things we need to work on is how those contacts with us actually translate into actual people coming into adult social care. But you can see there, people are depleting their funds quite rapidly, and therefore the trajectory is up. Quick update on housing. So the net budget is 6.290 million. It is forecast to be on budget again, which is good news. So the Housing Option Service is forecasting an overspend of 1.385 million. However, this will be mitigated by savings of nearly £500,000 derived from private sector support and disabled facility grant service, and there will be a drawdown from some of the reserves. And there are some savings on permanent staffing budgets within the housing enabling and housing director services, which have also offset some of the pressures. That's a whistle-stop tour. So if I then pass you over to Emily, who's going to give you an update on a bit more detail on some of the issues and developments that are happening within adult social care.
Thank you. We'll come back to you if we may. Question.
Thanks, Christian. And just really wanted to give a little bit more sort of detail in terms of some of the robust oversight that we do have within adult social care, and some of the ongoing challenges that whilst there is an underspend within the budget, there is constant robust monitoring that's taking place. As you're aware, we are very much a demand-led service, and part of the work that we've been doing with the My Life, My Future work has been exactly that, is to really focus on, in terms of our demand and pressures, really looking at that early help, that early intervention and that preventative work. So that is still, that as you can see, that is working really well. A lot of the work that we've also been doing is looking at our residential provision as well. Mel has talked many a time surrounding the budget and surrounding our ambition in terms of being able to support and keep people at home in their own homes for as long as we possibly can do. Balancing out that the needs and wishes and wants of individuals, but also balancing out that in terms of the risk. Now, some of the pressures that we do see within our budget are surrounding, whilst we're underspent in terms of with our learning disabilities cohort of individuals, this is a pooled budget, so some of that money will go back to the ICB, as Christian has quite rightly said. We have got an overspend in terms of our intermediate care, and we're working across the system with our colleagues within the ICB and colleagues within Somerset Foundation Trust to really look at our intermediate care offer. And again, with very much promoting the home is best philosophy, and supporting as many people as we possibly can do to be discharged from hospital back to their own homes, where we know that people recover and progress in terms of their reablement better than they do in a setting other than their own home. So we're working with our ICB colleagues and SFT at the moment to look at our bed-based care as well, and reusing some of that money to promote and have a much more of a enhanced, robust reablement service where people will be discharged home back into their own home where appropriate, of course. We've got a number of mitigations that are also taking place, particularly in terms of our mental health services as well, and our use of our open mental health provision, which again is a jointly funded service across the ICS as well. And just to give a little bit more detail, the other thing in terms of our depleted funds, so that's our capital drop. We're doing some specific work with our care providers at the moment to really give as much information as we possibly can do for individuals about how to manage their money or keep hold of their money for as long as they possibly can do. So we're working with a couple of providers at the moment to really support that. And again, as I said, I think last month, the webinar shows that we've been doing and running, again, really touch on finances, individual finances, and how to make the most of people's monies as well.
Very much. I will come to, I have just a couple of questions. I'd just like to get them out of the way that might help. And I think the thing that my vision is also, we want to get people back in their own homes. The thing that we do also want to know, and it might be something we need to go on the work programme, is to ensure that home care is working. Many people have said to me that they don't think it is. They love the idea, and I definitely want the vision, but we do need to ensure that people are being cared for at home. And that's something I think we need to scrutinise to prove that does work, because it'd be wonderful to be able to say that the money that's not being spent in residential homes, which is what we want, but it actually is really working.
We can definitely share amazing stories, Jill, of how this is working for people. So as you may be aware, we've had our CQC notification for adult social care that was received this week. So we are completing our information return within the next 3 weeks to submit to the CQC. And within our self-assessment, there are plenty of stories about how this is working really well for people, achieving great outcomes as well. So we can definitely share that. You'll be fully aware of that because you'll be part of the CQC inspection when that takes place. But we will be sharing our self-assessment with every member in terms of from a scrutiny panel as well.
That's wonderful. I think shared experience is something it speaks for itself, and I think it's so very important. So that would be good. I need to go. Thank you. I need to go to Councillor Trimlock first, please.
Did Councillor Wakefield just want to make a point?
Sorry, your name was. Sorry, it came up first. Sorry, Councillor
I
Wakefield.
just want to add to what Emily had said. I think it's just important when you say about not necessarily being happy with what happens, because every care package is individually designed. And as I've said before, people are a moving target. They don't always stay the same. So you design a care package and then something else happens, or some family change, whatever happens. So yes, we're not going to say that everybody who gets a care package or gets it set up is going to be completely happy with it. And the other thing is that some people expect that what we do is like the health service. It is not the same as the health service. The health service is there free at the point of delivery, 24 hours a day, all the rest of it. If you're at home and you need a bit of care, that's not the same as having a nurse there beside your bed all the time. So I think there's an expectation point here. And I think people say they do want to be at home, but perhaps they don't like that they don't get quite the same care that they get in the hospital. But we can't provide that. But we can put people in a situation where they feel calm and relaxed because it's there at home, provided they're not too worried about the whole situation, and the families get worried as well. So I'm just saying it's a bigger thing than just saying, oh, it's better to be at home. It is better to be at home, but it does require the person supported to be able to cope with that as well. So that's just wanted to make that point.
Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right. Having spent quite a considerable time in hospital, you always have to weigh up the fact that how many times a nurse is coming to your bed. People forget that. They think, because I'm in hospital, the nurse is going to be sat beside me all day long, and they're not. And I know that only too well. It's part and parcel of us getting better ourselves, So, yes, thank you for that. Councillor Tim.
Thank you. So I have a couple of questions. My first one is page 24. With the tables, table 2 and table 3, and on my papers, they're completely empty. There's nothing on them, just a dashed lines, as if to say there isn't anything. And I just wondered whether that was supposed to be the case, whether I have missed something in another paper somewhere that I haven't seen, because I noticed in the papers there was some extra links to papers within the agenda front sheet, or the opening page of the agenda, but I did look through those and I didn't see them. But is everybody else has got nothing in, or is it just me?
No, I have to say I've got it in.
The two tables that you see in front of you are this is a kind of standard report across all of the individual directorates. So this is where services, if they're overspent, they're required to make mitigations. So, and as we're coming towards the end of the year, we're now focusing on 25, 26. So yeah, I could have taken them out actually, but what it's showing is we're coming towards the end of it, they don't need to make any mitigations as per se, because there's no overspends. Whereas children's services have got a lot of mitigations, so hence they would have table 2 and table 3. So these are standard reports across all of the individual directorates, but yeah, so for the next months, I could probably take them out. But yeah, there is a requirement if there's no overspend to make mitigations. But in this case, obviously, adult social care is underspent, so therefore they don't need to make those mitigations. So that's why they're in there. It's a kind of standard part of the report.
That's okay. I spent quite a while last night trying to see if I could find something else in any of the other papers, because I thought I know what I'm like, and I know what my iPad's like, because it's not compatible with everything, and I thought I've got a dud here, but that's absolutely fine. I noticed on page 26. So this is the public page pack, by the way, so I'm going with the page numbers on there. It seems to show the numbers of people in all placements are increasing despite the work to keep people in the homes. And I wondered whether that was because we've got a growing demographic in that age group, and so it's still proportional, or if there was another explanation for that, please.
So some of that is a growing demographic that we've got. And what we also have is, so the work that we've been doing within adults is definitely shown, and you can see from in terms of the nursing placement, you can see there that actually they're lower than what they were last year. Our residential placements have been they've been going up, but some of that is due to depleted funds. So some of that is where it's with people that are self-funding their own care. Then they come to the local authority because they've run out of money. There's very little at the moment that adult social care can do about that. And that's where we need to get that really early information, that early support out to individuals. What reason why we're doing the webinars and the road shows as much as we possibly can do. And what we want to be able to do, we know that there's going to be a number of nursing placements. We absolutely know that. And what we're really trying to do is turn that ship in terms of on the from a residential point of view, and really look at all the options and all the alternatives that there are available for people. But we have got a growing demographic within Somerset, and particularly within the southwest. Yeah. So I'm trying to manage that as much as we can, which is where that sort of early help, that preventative work is really coming through.
That's brilliant, thank you. I have got some more questions, but I'm going to step back and let some other people speak first.
Well, no one has put their hand up as yet, so carry on, Lucy. I'll let you know when I want you to stop.
I'm sure you will do. Thank you very much. So now I've got page 28, and the bottom paragraph, I know it was fairly late by the time I read this, but I can make it make sense, and I wondered if someone could just explain it to me. I'm happy to read it out if you can't find it, but it just seemed to, I don't know, I felt there was something missing, so I didn't quite understand what it was talking about.
Yeah, is what paragraph were you talking of? All of it, or the?
Well, the bottom one. So it just there was, I don't know, I just couldn't quite make sense of what it was trying to tell me. Savings on permanent staffing budgets within the housing enabling and housing director services have offset pressures derived from historical income budgets within the housing strategy service unable to be achieved. And I just couldn't quite, it felt, I didn't know whether there was something missing or whether, I didn't know whether it's because it was quite late and I didn't understand it. And I just wondered if someone could explain it to me, please.
Christian, do you want to take this one?
I'll probably provide some more detail on it, but it appears that there is some income budgets within the housing strategy service which aren't achieved. So therefore, what they've done is that they've offset those by savings in salaries within the housing enabler and housing director services. So that's offset that. But I can provide some more detail if you wish. It's not a problem.
Can I just say, Christian, that would really be helpful to us. Could it come to all go to Jamie, and then Jamie can send that out to us? That'd be great. Can't wait.
Yes, we have got understaffing in some of that service, which is one of the issues, and we do get with housing. People should remember we get quite a lot of budget outside the council. We get grants from the government and all sorts of things like that. So it's not just the taxpayer money for Somerset that's meeting these. And I think that, yes, as I say, that it's been able to offset by savings because we haven't got staff. That's not a great position to be in. I'm not saying it's a good position to be in, but it resulted in the position not being as bad as it otherwise would at the moment. But we also got some good news. We've got some more money coming in from the government, and we're hoping that really we're going to step up what we're doing in housing. We've got to, because we've got far too many people in temporary accommodation and rough sleeping. But as I say, just remember with housing that a lot of the money comes direct from the government. It's not just from the government.
Oh, thank you. That's very helpful. Thank you. You've made it very transparent. I'm going back to Councillor Triminal because she's got the floor at the moment.
I do apologise. This is my last thing. So the final question was regarding page 32. The Housing Options Service is forecasting an overspend of 1.385 million. On there was housing strategy, which was overspent. Now it's not a massive overspend, but in terms of what was budgeted, which was 46,000, is actually spent 216,000. And I just wondered whether there was a reason for this. Is this one-off, or is this something that's going to have to be sort of reprofiled in order to match what should be spent in the future?
Quite more detail on that. That's fine. Yeah, it's quite a detailed question. So yeah, that's not a problem. I can provide them why that's overspent. I'll email it to everybody.
That would be very kind. Would that be sorry, I do apologise. Would that be acceptable?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And do you wish to say anything else, Councillor?
No.
Gosh, Councillor Bailey.
Thank you, Chair. It's back to the previous question from Councillor Trimnall on 28, page 28. And it was just my understanding, and it may be wrong, that there's an issue on income, low income coming in, and an issue on staff numbers being lower. Could I just ask, perhaps, can you illustrate what is being done to address both those points? Just as an example of what you can do. Thank you.
Well, the housing team has been completely reorganised under the new structure. So we've organised it into operations and commissioning. It's got a completely different shape to it. We've got new posts. We've got a new head of housing, Kirsty Larkins, and people working under her have all been appointed. So I think what I would say is the housing service that came in from the district, mostly with a bit of work from the county, has not really taken off in the way that we would have hoped. But under the new structure, we can see those things happening. We've got our housing and rough sleeper policy and action plan coming forward. And with the new team that we've got, we will aim and we will hope to make big strides forward in stopping this complete increase that's going on with people in temporary accommodation staying too long in B&Bs, which is, we're one of the worst in the country. I mean, I'm not making any bones about this, and we know that. The temporary accommodation thing is difficult. We haven't got enough housing, and I was at a meeting yesterday where they pointed out that we are losing so much affordable housing to viability on new developments, that we are possibly going to lose 1,000 affordable houses in the coming year that we would have got because the developers say it's unviable. So we've got all those issues together with phosphates backing up. But as I say, with our new structure and a newly organised team, which I have to say, I'm assured by the officers, they are so much more focused, and they're going to get with less numbers, but they're going to get more done. And we've got more government money coming as well. So that's all I can say. Early days, but we will be addressing this urgently.
So watch this space, really.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is the beauty of having a portfolio holder here, that I can just say, thank you very much. So thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry, Councillor Johnson, sorry. We haven't got a nameplate, sorry. Apologies.
When you talked about the viability of with developments coming forward, is that not a problem across the country? Why would that be a particular problem in Somerset as opposed to other areas that don't have the pressures we're experiencing? And
I did ask that question actually from the housing options officer, and yes, it is a problem, but we're really only concerned with Somerset. So we're looking at it from a Somerset point of view. We've got developers who don't want to take affordable housing. We've got housing associations who don't want to take affordable housing because there's too few. They don't want 5, 6 houses. They want 20. Things like that. So the smaller developments are losing as well as the bigger ones. Yeah, no, you're right. Viability is a problem across the country. It needs to be addressed by the government. But if you're asking developers to put in biodiversity net gain, badger this, new that, all the other things they have to do. And what we're going to do as a council, and it's in the, it hasn't been announced, but what we are going to be looking at is what we can do as a council to put forward a joint approach from all the departments, highways, education, who are asking for stuff from developers, so that we actually get the affordable housing as well. Because often it gets pushed out by the other asks, the Section 106 agreements and so forth. It gets pushed out. Now, we don't want that to happen anymore. It can't go on like that. We know everybody across the council, all councillors want more affordable housing in Somerset. You've got to get it. So we're going to do a new approach, and that's, just starting out. But that was the ideas we were talking about. Probably shouldn't have said that.
So basically, it's going to come down to money. The developers saying they're not making enough money to accommodate affordable housing.
Yes, and it's the one thing that goes. They are allowed to do that. They are allowed to say we must make a profit, therefore we can't do the affordable housing. And it's been allowed by government that they have to make a certain profit. Of course, they do. But if we keep asking developers to do more things, and the cost of materials and the cost of development is going up, and the affordable houses, they only get about 50% of the cost of the house because they're giving it away. What the RPs pay or what the council, if we buy them, it's paying about half the cost of the development. So they are losing money. We get that. But it's a national problem, but in Somerset, we're going to address it in a different way.
Thank you. One more comment.
Well, okay.
Sorry, I just wanted to understand, so companies like Live West who take on from a developer, what's the financial package?
I don't think we can talk about that at this meeting. I think on the, if you don't mind, just don't want to get into trouble. But as many of us will know, in our previous lives, there are many discussions we used to have about affordable housing, and I shouldn't say wheeling and dealing, you're not allowed to say that, are you? But the actual discussion to try to get affordable, always a difficult one, always difficult. So I'm glad that we know, and thank you for being honest and transparent with that, because I think that makes a difference. Councillor Bailey.
Well, I was just going to applaud the move to an integrated approach, because it is, we are seeing, personally, I'm seeing things picked off one by one, and actually from a community perspective, it is an integrated approach. We need tunnels, we need busters, we need the affordable houses, and you see just these things being pared away bit by bit, having been agreed by planning. And so I would applaud an integrated approach. Yes. Perhaps it starts from the community upwards, but that's only a comment. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Nicholson, then we've got Councillor Nicholson, then we've got Councillor Lawrence as the last speaker. Councillor Nicholson, please.
Very briefly, music in my ears about integrated approaches to the planning game. It's a system which has its flaws, but we have to make it work. My question was, I'm really pleased that housing is now integrated into adults. New teams, new structure, all very new. How many holes are there? How many gaps? What's the recruitment status in the new team? Have you got the people in the places? And if not, when are you likely to be able to have recruited to them?
So, Kirsty Larkins, who's the new service director for housing on a permanent basis now, which is brilliant. She has all of her heads of service that are in place, which is fantastic. So they set the leadership, they set the direction of travel. We do have vacancies, or Kirsty does have vacancies. I can't give you the number in terms of the vacancies. There's a number of them, but what she has also got is a recruitment plan and a recruitment drive. We're working with our HR colleagues and our communication colleagues in getting that out there as well. There's new job descriptions that have been completed as part of the restructure, the organisation restructure that was done, and some services so they are going to be part funded from the local authority, and some of them are grant funded as well. But we've got, she's got a drive, she's got an absolute determination. But the positive of having the heads of service in place to set that direction of travel is really important.
Madam Chairman, just very briefly, could we have a written answer? That's really good to hear. Could we have a written answer on the number of vacancies that there are, when it is going to be allowed to put the job descriptions out and recruit, and when the target date for getting them in? They're out already. But when the target date for filling the posts? Be great. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. All right, our last speaker is Councillor Lawrence, please.
Oh, thank you. The sound hasn't been too good this morning, so I hope you might have covered this, but I am very concerned that a lot of older people are not in suitable accommodation. They are in a home or they are in a flatlet or whatever, but not necessarily suitable. And I think somehow or other we need to start thinking even more thoroughly about the type of accommodation and the needs of people, because we're all living longer and we all manage very well in a variety of different ways, but we still need that extra support, which means that we can live at home and look after ourselves to an intent. So it's about house building much than anything, and how do we convince people that we do need to be building suitable homes for older people in their later years.
Lawrence, I just wanted to say one thing, if I may, before I go to Councillor Wakefield. One thing I've learned myself, shared experience, is the fact that I don't think we always prepare for older life. Fit for My Future was a good example about preparing. So sometimes you can live in a house that's difficult, but sometimes you can buy your own adaptations. You can actually make life easier and life safer for yourself. And I think something we must get over is that we have to take responsibilities for ourselves as well as we're getting older. And I've learned that to my detriment, but it is a good lesson, I think, that simple things in the home, simple things can make your life so much better, and it can actually keep you living normal as possible. So sorry, Councillor Wakefield.
Yes, two things. One is that I am very keen on, in our local plan, building the houses that are houses for life. And what we want is a house that can be adapted more easily than some of the houses that we've got at the moment. So you need to be able to live downstairs when you can't get upstairs. And putting a stair lift in, my father hated it. He used to think he was going to fall off it. And in fact, my mother-in-law did fall off hers. But I think that's one of the things we need to look at, encouraging development of houses for life. So all you need is, in fact, my parents-in-law had this, there's a garage downstairs that you can turn into a bedroom with perhaps a shower attached to it. Something like that. But we need to look at that. And that is something I'm very keen on. The other thing is, I've got the cards here. Somerset Independent Living Centres. Take a card if you haven't, or if you don't know about it. They are really great at giving you the gadgets you need, the information you need. And we've got several of them in Somerset now. And that's going to be integrated in our team, which does house alterations for people who need. So it's all going to be together and more integrated. And this is available across Somerset. And you must tell everybody about our Somerset Independent Living Centres. They are really important. I've got the cards here. Have one if you haven't got one.
That's a good advertisement. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, I know I bought many of my things. I think if you can afford to buy them, other people in life can't. So I managed to do that. And it's well worth it. Very, very good indeed. Okay, we're now going to move on now to the item 7, which is the CQC quality assurance. And this is again, Emily Fulbrook. Over to you, please.
I initially was going to do just a verbal update. I have pulled together late last night some slides which I can share, and then I'm conscious that none of you would have seen them, but I can share them out because there's some links in there as well that you might also find useful. So if you'll indulge me a little bit, let me just get this up. Hopefully. Okay, lovely. So I think we've had a number of discussions surrounding the changes to CQC and their single assessment framework. And I know the ambition was to have CQC here to present today. That hasn't been able to be achieved. And there's maybe some things that we can do with our link in person from the CQC, and maybe we can do it, whether that be a workshop or an online session or something along those lines. We can maybe discuss that as we progress through the presentation. But just as a reminder to everybody, so the CQC Single Assessment Framework, so this came in November 23, and this was about the changes in how health and social care services in England were going to be checked. And that new methodology was then called the new Single Assessment Framework. So as I said, it came in November 23, and it was to make it easier in terms of checking the quality of care through the Single Assessment Framework, and it replaced the old separate one single system. And the aim of the approach was to focus on what really mattered to people and to use the same key questions, so about safety, effective, caring, responsive and well-led. So the core elements of what CQC is still assessing are exactly the same. And what the new framework was about was putting people at the centre of their care, and it focused solely on safety, improving services and making sure care providers work together, utilising the I statements. And the I statements have been co-produced with people with lived experience. So it was very much bringing that all in together. So the single assessment framework, the 5 key points really. So as I said, it focused on the 5 key questions. So safety, effective, caring, responsive and well-led. And then it uses the quality statements as part of their key lines of inquiry. So they're things like the I statements and the we statements, again, that have been co-produced. The evidence categories as well collects the evidence from 6 areas, including from people's experience, staff, partner feedback, process and outcomes for individuals. They've kept the ratings the same, so the single word rating. They've really tried to focus on it being really person-centred, so that's the detailed person, and looking rather than looking just at actually what does it mean for the individual and what the outcome is. And it replaces a single separate system and one set of rules for all people. Now, you may remember that they really focused on part of this transformation was about really getting into digital. So it was all about being digital, online, and having people being able to utilise not individuals necessarily that use the service, but definitely care providers. Now, you may have seen in the news, it's been published, and I'll send these slides up because it's got the link there to the report. You can go in and have a look at the more details. But there was an independent review of the CQC technology that was published on the 26th of March. Now, the technology has not worked as what the CQC would have hoped it would have worked, and there have been some challenges as part of that. Some of the findings that they've identified is that there have been quite significant technology issues with the way in which the platform and the provider function. There's also some fundamental cultural issues in terms of the use of data and how CQC are utilising data. The amount of money that's been spent on this as well. They did what they thought it would do in terms of the transformation programme. But what they have also found is that parts of the platform are working really well, and that mainly relates to the customer contact. So that's positive, that's working really well. I haven't detailed all of the recommendations here. There's 23 recommendations that the report puts in. The link that you'll have goes into the report in a bit more detail. But broadly, it covers 5 main areas, and it covers areas surrounding culture, governance, operating model, change management, and data. And there is an action plan that has been created, and that will be monitored and tracked through by the CQC that has other stakeholders on that, holding CQC to account. But what does that all about really mean for Somerset? So amongst all of this, where are we in terms of our care home providers that we have here in Somerset? So just to give you a bit of an overview, apologies, the data is really small here, but within Somerset, we are 80, this is the whole, this is all of our residential, nursing homes, people with mental health, older people, people with learning disabilities. So this is an overall. We can give much more detail if that would be beneficial in terms of each category. But 85.7% of Somerset's social care settings providing residential community provision combined, including nursing, inspected by a Care Quality Commission, were rated as good or outstanding. So this is above, in comparison to sort of the national average, which is 83.3. We are above the national average, and it also represents a continued improvement of the sector here within Somerset. So it's a good news story. Now, you probably won't be able to read all of that on the screen, so you will need to have this pack with you. But we currently have, so in January 25, we had 196 care homes in Somerset. That's in Tottenham, Somerset. 55 of those care homes include nursing. And the remaining 141 care homes without nursing care. We have got some. So in total, sorry, I'm trying to read the figures on that screen. I can't see it on my own screen. But so we had, let's just go to this. So in total, there were 6,086 beds in Somerset in January 2025. Now, not all of those will be used. Some providers won't use all of them, won't use all of those beds that are available for various different reasons. And that may be because they've had a number of new people attend or admitted into the home, so therefore they may well hold back on some of those beds that would be available. But generally speaking, that's the bulk of beds that we have available for us in Somerset. In January and February, there were no new registered homes, and there were no homes that were deregistered within that time frame as well. So there are currently no residential homes in Somerset that are rated inadequate by the CQC, and there are 6 homes currently without a current CQC rating. I've checked in with our commissioning colleague this morning, and that is because they are new homes, so they're brand new, their first CQC inspections yet. They've already gone through a very rigorous process already to actually open up a home in anyway. What our teams are doing, our quality assurance team are doing, is we undertake quality visits. So whilst they haven't been registered or have their rating by CQC, our teams are absolutely going out just to check in terms of the quality of that. They do have to be registered, they absolutely do, but they've already gone through part of that process. But you're right, they do have to have their rating. So they would have already been registered. They're registered homes, they just haven't had their rating. And as part of this as well, what we also do is we have what's called an SQF, so service quality feedback, and that is provided by both local authority staff, care providers themselves, and also our health colleagues. So our provider market, all of those 196 homes are monitored and overseen by as part of the work that we're undertaking.
You can just wonder if the mic's not working very well.
That's a bit better. I just wanted to give a bit of detail in terms of last year. In the year before, we had a number of high-profile home closures. So just wanted to give a little bit of an overview in terms of what happened in 2024. So we had 2 homes were identified as potentially looking at closing. Our teams across both safeguarding and our quality team, operational and commissioning teams, worked alongside the providers, and we provider being found to support those homes. That meant that those individuals that were living in those homes didn't need to move. We didn't need to find alternative accommodation for those. We have had 1 home closure within 2024, but we actually only had 1 individual that was funded by Somerset All other individuals were supported and funded outside of Somerset for nearly local as well. I've given a little bit of detail in here in terms of the home closure process and the requirements under the Care Act, and there is a responsibility here for local authorities. Those are the slides I've just pulled together, but I think if it would be helpful, I've spoken to our quality team. If it would be helpful, they're more than happy to provide a bit more detail on that come to scrutiny and to inform you of their working practices, how we're working alongside the CQC within their new single assessment framework, and how we utilise things like PAMS, which is our tool that we work with our providers, where they provide back quality information, service quality information and improvement information to our teams, and the robustness process that we have in terms of being able to our care market here within Somerset. You've done a really good job, but I do think it would be really good if we could have members of this committee could actually ask a question. Thank you so much for what you've done, giving us an overview. And before I go to Councillor Stanton, I've just got to Councillor Welch. I wanted to add just for people interested. At the next date on Monday, got four weeks to put in, 3 weeks in all the information that they asked for, all that we do and goes in. Then they have a look at that. They will then come to interview people. And I think that's going to be in June, late May, June. It's about 3 months typically. We don't know yet. Of what's likely to happen. What's interesting is that they've been taking a really long time to give the results. They'll get really demotivated if they had all this stuff and they don't know what the rate is, they don't know what the answer is. Do send you a draft and you can correct factual inaccuracies to the local bodies, because I have meetings with other members. Nearly all the southwest counties that have been it's good. It's not particularly high standards at the moment, according to them. I would say that we think that some of the assessors they have to recruit very quickly. They're not necessarily experts in that start really. So when we have them come in, we need to work the time scale, the right time scale. That's very important. Councillor Stanton.
It's maybe 18 months ago, but then was it as we moved towards being careful, we can spend really well. I mean, it's the funding programs that lots of careful is planning to be built. So does that represent, so there's two questions, does that being closed down as they become to replacing them? And are we still in a position where we've got more?
You're already in an open provision for certain categories of care, and Mel has said many residential points of view, we probably do have an open provision of residential. Now, nursing, older persons, mental health beds are some of the is probably what we need, and it depending on where we are. So there was a recent application for a nursing home in Wellington, but we don't need another nursing home. That's not something that we would be supportive of. But in some other areas, there may be other. We do need to have a nursing home. But from a residential point of view, we would properly say that we've got an open description of open.
Well, if I may, but those of us from planning committee, we really examine very hard to include a proposal for a care home and returning them. And the
Encourage anybody if there is if there is any care home provider, then I would definitely encourage people to do it.
The thing is, can I just, sorry. Can we just stop a moment because the sound just seems to be causing a problem. Hello, this is a check. Everybody checking. Hello, good morning. Can you hear me?
Jill, when you look forward into your mic, you're crystal clear, but the rest of the room isn't.
Oh, I'm a loud person, that's why not loud.
Could everyone try
Could you bring
speaking
your,
in front of the mic?
could you all try your mic? Sarah, could you try your mic?
Yes, yes, I'm happy to do that. Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's fine.
And Emily?
Oh, yeah. Can you hear me?
I can now, yes. I think you need to keep your head forward on the mic, perhaps. I don't know, but we've hardly heard anything for the last 10 minutes.
So sorry, and it was the best bit as well. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry about that. Yeah, certainly, Sarah. But we all bring our microphones nearer if we want to speak. Is that okay? Thank you.
Yes, I just wanted to add something about care homes. Obviously, it's up to the private provider if they want to open a care home. We can't stop it. You can't actually turn it down if you don't think it's needed. We have got, I think Gemma Beasley, we've got people in the team who actually will talk to people thinking about setting up a care home and saying, well, you can set it up if you want to, but we know we've got enough beds here. If you do that, you may find that you can't fill it. You can fill them with people out of county because obviously people do come into Somerset to use our care homes as well. And what people need to realise is that if we continue in the way we are with keeping people home for longer, they may need to go into a care home for a shorter period when they're older, but it'll probably be nursing care is what they need.
Yeah.
So actually the residential homes, and those are the things where people put their relative in there and then they run out of money.
Yeah.
Because they've gone in too soon, and the residential homes tend to be rather swish and a bit more expensive, to be honest. And they may not, and that's why we are trying to encourage through our training programs, people to really think about what they want for their relatives. And if it's fine, if you want a really nice care home, which has got, menus that they can choose from, that's fine. But will you be able to pay for that for 5 or 10 years? Because if you put somebody in when they're younger and they're not really ready to go in, that might happen. I had somebody say this to me recently, and she said, "Oh, my mum's been in a care home. We're running out of money, but it's okay because although she's got a flat, that's my flat." And I said, "Well, is that flat in your name or hers?" She said, "Oh, it's her name." And I said, "Well, we will take the flat then." Or this is one in Somerset actually, but that's what will happen. So if you've got a property, then we will try and attach money from it. We'll take money from it. But if you haven't, and you put your relative into a care home and they haven't got any money, then we will have to put them into a care home we can afford. And that's the problem. If you want to choose where you go, you need to think about whether you can afford it for how long.
It's the long-term approach, isn't it, really, that we've got to think about. I personally feel that if we eventually don't build any more residential homes, but look after nursing care, look after nursing homes, and we have people cared for at home as long as possible, maybe some of them won't even need nursing care. And that's what we need to move to. I mean, I know people say to me, I hate the fact that I've got to sell my mum's house to pay for this when somebody else down the road gets theirs free. There's always going to be this imbalance. We know that. But I do think we have to prepare. This game's fit for my future. It's all about that, is preparing. And can I say on planning, I sit on planning. On planning, we look at the build, we look at the land, we look at the building, we don't look at the whys and wherefore. It's a shame that we don't link the two together, but unfortunately under planning law, we're there to look at the build, which sometimes you often sit there morally thinking this is not right, but that's not what you're there to do. So it's very, very difficult one. Well, I think we'd like to bring this, if we can, back to the scrutiny. Yeah. We really do. But we thank you for what you've done, and thank you for doing the slides late last night. That's very kind. And thank you, Sarah, for your input. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. Do you know what? You're not going to believe this. You think this is deliberate, but you're in a funny light there, and I can't quite see you. Sorry.
It's going up and down regularly.
Sorry, you need to have a bell. Sorry.
Thanks, Jill. Thanks, Jill. No, just a couple of questions based on what's been said that I was interested in. So in my patch, we have the Orchard Grove development where they're planning to build a dementia Alzheimer's-based care home. And I did wonder, is there a different market for that kind of care home? And will that be well occupied and useful to both the council and to people that come from outside the area? And also just wondered, sort of, were there any statistics that you can sort of give some feel of how many people are being placed from outside of Somerset in our homes?
Let me do the first one. So dementia residential there's a need there in terms of the dementia residential. Sometimes it's often very difficult and involves quite high risks for somebody with quite advanced dementia living at home without very over restrictive level of care. So yes, dementia residential is an area. We have got some block beds at the moment. They are not all necessarily where we need them to be, because it does mean sometimes that people are moving from one end of the county to the other end of the county because of availability of beds that we do have. In terms of numbers of outer county individuals, we won't always know. Now we should do. So if Somerset was to place somebody in Dorset, for example, we should always be letting the local authority and the local health teams know, because whilst we wouldn't necessarily be responsible for those individuals, we would be responsible if there was a safeguarding issue, or if from a local authority point of view. Health would be responsible for different requirements. So we do make sure, and we work obviously very closely with our health colleagues. It's quite difficult then from a quality point of view to be able to, because you're not always in there as much from a social work point of view and operational point of view. So we try to work closely with other local authorities, but sometimes we don't always know of other individuals that are there. Our providers will tell us. So we've got a good relationship with the RCPA, so they will also let us know as well if there are individuals that are placed from out of county. I don't have the statistics for you to hand.
Okay, thank you very much. I'd like to Councillor Govia, please.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Govey from Wellington. Yeah, and he's right. There is a care home plan for Wellington, and when that came about, I asked all the various questions, and people said, "Well, actually, we don't need one." And it really goes back, I think, to the sort of wider point that that's come up several times this morning around the planning process as well, because I think very often, certainly Wellington at the moment is subject to, I think there are about 8 or 9 or 7 or 8 new planning applications in the pipeline all around the town, and all of them are sort of in their own right, okay as applications. We've got our own views on their acceptability, but I think the problem is it's also fragmented, and a developer just says, "Oh, we're going to build a care home and we're going to build this," and so I applaud the fact we're coordinating from the council's point of view, but I think there needs to be some way. I mean, I know they're private companies and they can do more or less what they like, but I think we need to sort of be setting out some sort of framework for what we want to see in the community, because it's quite clear we don't need care homes, we need more affordable housing, and at the moment the developers seem to be the ones deciding, I suppose as they have a right to do, but it just seems that without that coordination we're going to continue to have piecemeal development, which doesn't really bring the infrastructure and the facilities that the towns across Somerset need, but just bring whatever at the whim of the developer. I agree, it probably does need, national action, and it's, that's why if we are going to build, the millions of homes that, the government say we need, I think there needs to be, more control over what type of homes and where and that sort of thing. Otherwise, it's just going to end up with more executive houses built on the edge of towns, which don't really bring much to the community. Thank you. No real question, just a bit of a rant.
Thank you. Thank you. There's no question, so you're happy
Just to say quickly, one of the roles that we have, and the CQC will be looking at as well, is shaping the market. We are supposed to shape the market, so we are supposed to be active in that way you're suggesting, which is why we do have people who say, we know you're thinking of building a care home now, you're really sure that's the right place to put it. So we do that as much as we can. Obviously, we like to know where they're coming up, but that shaping the market is quite important to us. And that's why we don't want an oversupply of beds. We want enough beds, but we don't want lots of empty beds because the care home will fold.
And I always think, and I say this, I know this is not the right format really, but I wish we could get builders to build bungalows. I know they won't do that because it takes more land and it's not cost effective for them. But you know what, we could go back to that. I think that would be brilliant. But anyway, Councillor Lawrence.
Yes, interesting conversations, I have to say, but I am concerned that we do not seem to be having a better rationale of affordable, comfortable homes for older people where they can live comfortably and look after themselves, but have more to help them. And it should automatically be an automatic process when you think about it. We start life and we go on, but at some point we all need help. But we don't seem to start that process early enough so that enough people get the help they need in a better way. I don't know what we can do as a council to try and impress on house builders and all the rest of it ways of working with us so that we have a huger variety of homes and suitable accommodation for older people, because we are all living longer, and in Somerset it's a very popular place to live.
Thank you, Christine. I also think as well, it's again going back to the old adage really. I think it's about us as well taking some responsibility, and I think we need to. I think we can't expect the councils to do everything. I think if we could take some responsibility, we could make lives a lot easier. It's a two-pronged approach, I think, really. But I think, Councillor Wakefield again.
Just to say, what was just being said by Councillor Lawrence is really important. This is one of the big things we want to get in the local plan. We're in a really good position in the sense that we are putting together our local plan for the next 30, 40 years and putting in accommodation that is suitable for the population that we will have, which will be an older population, very likely. It's getting older all the time. That putting in those houses and those retirement areas that people can live in and live well is what we want to do. And they will be integrated. We don't want people in retirement ghettos. We want them to be living with other people as well. But we need to design the right sort of houses. We need to make the local plan as tight as we can in providing that sort of accommodation. And it is on our radar.
Well, Councillor Lawrence, I hope you're happy with that, because I think you need to watch the local plan, and as I know you will permanently, and make sure that you have your say on that. I think it's a good thing.
I think it's a challenge, but yes, I will. I will see what I can find out. It is a worry for the fact that more and more people seem to be retiring to Somerset, which is lovely. We're very pleased to have them, but they do need help and support.
They do. Thank you. Can I now go to Councillor Oakes, please?
Thank you, Chair. You can imagine I've listened with interest to the comments of Councillor Wakefield and others about care homes and the need to support the right homes. We start from the point of view that society, the government has broken its word. In 1948, the decision was care from the cradle to the grave. That doesn't happen. That's not free at the point of need. And that's a matter of shame, but we also don't do that with dentistry anymore. So there's some work that needs to be done to bring back the welfare state and to make decisions about whether it's cradle to the grave. The issue about housing is very important. Bungalows are not the answer on their own. Unfortunately, if you put a large number of people together in bungalows, you do create technically a grey ghetto. It doesn't, I know it's very popular in America, but I don't think it's a good idea. There's also evidence to show it's not a good idea. In Abbey Manor Park in Yeovil back in the 70s, I think, they tried an experiment where they have houses where there is a 3-bedroom house, a 2-bedroom house and a bungalow attached as a mini little terrace. And I don't know if there's been any sociological work done on that, any proper research, but it would be interesting to see, because that has the advantage of people living in communities. And just because somebody gets grey hair doesn't mean to say that they no longer have that need for community that you have when you're a child. and through adulthood. So it would be good if we could have more control over planning, but unfortunately at the moment we're going to get less control. But we do need that to influence government to put in that sort of planning control to make sure we've got mixed developments, not estates that are full of, say, 500 three-bedroom houses and stuff. There has to be the mixture, because that is really good for people. And I will continue lobbying my colleagues and everything, and hopefully we can lobby the government to get them to change plans. It doesn't stop people building, but it does give you, Chair, some of the things you want, a nice mixed development with more bungalows in there, but as part of streets, not on their own little section. You know, that it works better, in my opinion.
Thank you, Councillor Oakes. You read my mind. I'm not naturally grey. I am, but I live in a bungalow, and my bungalow was, but it was a mixed development. And you're right, my bungalow was in the middle of many big housing and bungalows and everything else. And I think you're absolutely right. I think a mixed development will work. We just need the builders and the developers to agree to that. So thank you very much. I think we've talked about this enough now, so I'm going to move on now. Thank you for all the input everyone's given. I'd like to move on to item 8, which is supporting unpaid carers in Somerset. I do think we have a new lady sat next to you, and I'm sorry, I don't know your name. So if you could introduce.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good morning, everyone. I hope you can hear me okay. Yeah, I'm Sarah Codring. I work in the commissioning team at the council. I need to share apologies from the co-author of the report, Jill Kennison-Goble, who unfortunately she's had family bereavement last night, so she can't be with us today. I won't do her justice in terms of paper, I'm afraid, but you have the detail there. We're happy to follow up with anything that I can't offer. I am pleased to introduce Christine Brewer from the Carers Support Service that we commissioned through Community Council for Somerset, and hopefully I can pass the baton to her as I talk through the report. Okay. I don't have a presentation. I would just speak to the report that you have. Would you like me to share from my screen?
We need to share. Has everybody got it? Yeah, everybody's got it.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Woods.
Can you share, because I can't get anything at all?
Thank you very much, Councillor Woods. I don't want you not to be anything. Jamie's going to do it. Okay. Got it now?
Oh, I'll start talking through it then.
Yeah.
Where?
So it should be on the screen.
I thought you're on the screen. It'd be on your laptop.
But that's not working. That's the
it's up
point.
here, up here.
I don't think you'll see it though. I don't think you'll see it.
That's what I was going to ask. That's what I asked for. Thank you.
I'll try to summarise it without obviously talking through it word by word. So this relates to carers, and in this context, a carer is not your employed carer through a care agency. We're talking about unpaid carers of family members or friends of a relative or somebody who's become ill or struggling, not able to cope on their own. Councillor Wakefield helpfully reminded me just before the meeting started actually to reflect on the fact that lots of people would rather not or choose not to identify as a carer. We so often hear people say, but I'm just being mum, or I'm the wife of the person that I'm providing care for. We have quite a challenge there to encourage people to also recognise that they are a carer in their own right, and that they have legal rights, and that there is a heap of support available to them in that role. And in the report, we talk about broadly what a carer is. And also, I believe it's worth reflecting that we have there's a strong legal case for us to support our unpaid carers, of course, under the Care Act and other pieces of legislation. But there's also a strong financial or business case for doing so. We know there's an estimation that carers nationally is estimated, they say they're worth £152 billion each year. And this does also flow on, doesn't it, from our previous your previous discussion about wanting to be proactive and plan ahead for the future. It's all about avoiding crisis, which has that awful personal toll, but we do know the financial impact as well. So in Somerset, our carers offer is covered by a range of services, and we have what we call a no wrong door approach. So whenever anybody contacts somebody in the system, the council or the NHS or somebody in their locality, they should be able to access appropriate support for them. And that ranges from, if you think that the sort of the lowest needs, maybe some signposting, maybe some basic information, some connecting to somebody else who can help. This goes on through our village agent service that CCS provide. This might be also through voluntary activities, and yourselves as well as elected members connected throughout your patches. And then if we look to low to medium level needs, the council commissions a carers support service via the Community Council for Somerset, and this is what Christine manages. So can I hand over to you to give an overview of that service?
Good morning. So as Sarah said, I'm the lead for the Somerset Carer Service under the umbrella of Community Council for Somerset. And very briefly, I'm hoping that you all know Community Council for Somerset. Next year is actually our 100th year. So we were formed in 1926 under DEFRA as part of the post-war work to get rural communities back on their feet. We now have 100 employees, and last year we were successful in retaining the carer contract, but with very much work to improve, take it forward, and develop the service for supporting very many more carers across Somerset. I can go on. Right. So as part of the CCS and as part of the programme, we have a number of avenues. Firstly, we have our village agent programme. So across Somerset, we have just under 70 village agents, of which 10% of those are specifically carer agents. So in each of your areas, wherever you cover, there will be a carer agent. So they're all social prescribing link workers, which is quite a buzzword coming out of health at the moment, which means that all of the agents work alongside other organisations to find social solutions, ranging from food, making sure they've got food, to micro providers, all the way through to getting grants and helping people come out of domestic abuse, and then obviously through to the carer service. For the carers agents, they obviously specifically work with carers, so their needs are very they're not different, they've just got the added points. They need support themselves as well as support for the person they're caring for. It might be in terms of finding them respite care, making sure they're on the right benefits, making sure they get a break, and also one of the big things that I've worked on over the year is to raise awareness as well. We must raise awareness of unpaid carers. The other CCS also has a diverse communities programme, and it also has a community buildings programme. But we all work together. But the agent service is probably the biggest part, and it's probably the part that you hear about the most, I would have thought, in your communities.
So back to the overall offer in Somerset. Thank you, Chrissy. This is top of page 34 in the public pack, the diagram of the no wrong door approach. So that covers your low to medium level needs. Then there is a specialist mental health carers support service. This is run by Somerset NHS Foundation Trust. We contribute financially. We don't commission this service. We contribute to that on an annual basis. We have a grant agreement which we've just refreshed with that service. It has been reduced in the last year, and this is in view of some work that was done to understand what the service provides and where the duplication is
or could potentially be with the sort of universal carers support service that CCS offer. And then if you see on the right-hand side of that diagram, there's the risk of reaching crisis points. This is where social care would come in and would need to put in some services to support what's going on there in the home, and particularly if there's a risk of a safeguarding issue also. In terms of Somerset as well, we have something called the Commitment to Carers, which I hope you've heard of. With it, there was a fair amount of fanfare around this, rightly so, last year. And this really is a partnership approach outlining the values, principles and actions that health and social care services across the system should adopt to ensure effective support from paid carers in our county. And the governance for this is held within the Somerset Carers Strategic Partnership Board. So there's a description there on page 36 of your public pack of the system partners who are members of this board. It also has several carers themselves on that board who make a contribution, and they oversee the commitment and our actions to it. So all the organisations basically report on a whole ream of recommendations that came out of that commitment, just to ensure that there's some momentum, just to get that overview of what is going on, and of course always asking that question of what's working well, what's not working so well. And then at the end of the report, I've just pulled out a few areas of highlight, I think, of where we've been able to have some impact and make a difference. There was a Carers Information Day that was, again, led by CCS and supported by the council last September. And this was your usual sort of information day. You would have stalls from relevant organisations who'd be useful in giving information. But the rather more innovative aspect is that some social workers were there on the day and people could just drop in and they could begin that assessment process. They could, yes, get information, yes, get advice, but they could start that initial assessment, because don't forget, the carer is entitled to an assessment of their own needs to support them in their role looking after the cared for person. And that was very successful. There'll be 8 more this year. We've had one, Chrissy, there's one in Minehead last week. Yes, it seems like about a month ago. Time goes past so quickly. You'll also, I won't talk you through all of them, but there are some other examples of work. And looking to the immediate future, yes, we will be running those further days. We're also exploring the feasibility of doing something similar with GP surgeries. GP surgeries have carers champions based within them. So we're exploring whether we could have something monthly, maybe a bit of a joint surgery approach, a bit of a drop-in, because again, it's reflecting back on that point, I think, about yes, raising the profile and raising awareness, but also encouraging people to come forward to take up their rights, to make use of the services and the support that is there, that is needed. And the last reflection in the report is around trying to enhance what was started in earnest in the commitment to carers work, around making sure the voice of the carer is loud within the work we do, so that we are benefiting from the value of the experience that the people who live that life themselves bring. Nobody knows better what it is to live that life than the person themselves. And we have that at the highest level within adult social care at the Working Together Board, and that's reflected in the Carers Partnership with carers attending that board. So we want that woven through that commitment stand. Community Council for Somerset have commissioned a short video with a carer talking about her experience. If we had time, share, I'd like to try to share it if the tech won't fail me.
Jamie, is that okay? Yeah, that's fine.
Should I just try to share my screen?
Yeah.
Thoughts and prayers now that I don't crash the system, please. And I'll take my computer with me.
Oh dear.
We can't hear that.
should be, that will be going through now.
Can we just stop a minute and then, can you stop it and see if we can get it? We need it to sound better than that. This lady's gone to a lot of effort thinking.
Okay.
Can you send it to Jamie?
Can you put a link?
Only stayed locally at the moment. Trying to do, and then Jamie says the large file.
Jamie.
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
Yeah, can you put it on the chat? It'd be Max would need to do it because Max is connected to the owl. I'm not sure this is going to work, yeah.
Give it a go.
Videos are always very temperamental.
I have the same trouble with Netflix. It's just.
Did you want us to talk a little more background or maybe to take some questions, Chair, while I try to find out how to send the
Yes, that
file?
would be very helpful. Thank you very much. Thank you. Councillor Johnson, not forgotten this time.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, a couple of questions. So I had a really elderly resident who was caring for his wife, refusing any support. You know, he felt it was very much part of his duty to support his wife. He got very run down by the time that somebody stepped in via the GP service. And I just really would as a councillor, it'd be really useful to know what are the routes for me to, I don't want to report them, but to make sure that the right people get in touch with them to help and support and encourage them to get the support. So that's the first question. The second question, oh gosh, what was the second question? I'll come back to the
Okay, so anybody can refer into an agent, whether that be the village agent, the carers agent, but you have to have consent of the person that you are referring. Clearly not if it's a safeguarding issue, but if you, anybody can refer. So you could refer your aunt, your uncle, your neighbour, your friend, as long as you've got that consent. And also, bear in mind, this is the carer. However, if you've got a concern that that carer is having a detrimental effect on the cared for, then that is, you know, we can go round a different route because then, you know, that's a whole different ballgame. But anybody can refer to us and we get most, I've just done the figures for last year. The majority of our referrals are actually self-referrals, followed by family, followed by GP. So, yeah, anybody can refer into us, but you have to have that consent. But what we find is we run carer groups. We have 23 carer groups running across Somerset, and on top of all of our talking cafes. So maybe persuading somebody to come along and have a chat informally might be a way. The agents are all very, very good at taking that softly approach. So it might be, try this, and then we'll come back and we'll review it in a couple of weeks or a month and see how you're going. And, you know, we're very open to going very slowly, and sometimes they need to be slow because they have had that and they feel a real responsibility to their caring role.
So I think in this instance, he was a very proud man and that he wouldn't have given me his consent.
No.
So I think that's where the difficulty comes in. I haven't remembered my second question, which was about respite care. Obviously, you know, I think it was on the news last night about people struggling to get respite care. And I just wanted to understand, you know, what's our situation with respite care offers, and how the budgeting of that works. Who funds it? Do we have enough money for that?
Never have enough money, if I'm really honest. In terms of what we have, it is rather limited. Places available for respite across probably all sort of social care requests. But there are other things to do. So there's short breaks, but maybe in terms of, say, a sitting service to give a carer a break at home, things like that. And we are trying to explore the use of direct payments to carers in their own right to support some of that. But Emily will know more about the official figures.
So Sarah's absolutely right. In in terms of respite, there's various different options that we can use. Any of our care homes, not all of our care homes offer a respite provision. For some individuals with a learning disability, for example, there are specific respite provision that is available across the county. But not everybody wants to go and leave their own home. Not everybody wants to do that. So there are other options that we can look at in terms of Sarah's absolute rights, in terms of direct payments as well. Some of that might be in terms of a direct payment that could support a waking night overnight as well, if somebody is at risk of being left by themselves once the carer is not available. But sometimes it is just actually the carer would like to go and have their hair done, or go to the gym, or go to meet friends for coffee. So that's where you can use the direct payment as well. Now, if we are attaching for the carer, if there's for the cared for, where it becomes a little bit complicated. It depends on whether that individual is going to be having personal care tasks being completed, because if that's the case, then that would be an assessment under the Care Act for the cared for, and then that would be in terms of an eligibility criteria, which would be subject as well also to funding arrangements and funding thresholds. If we're attaching this just to the carer, and that means that the cared for is not going to be receiving any personal care arrangements, then that we could attach that to the associate that personal budget to the carer. So it becomes a little bit complicated. There's no one single answer, but we look at various different options, very much in terms of what is best for the individual and also what is best for the carer, what would work best for them.
Yes, you deserve it.
And so I guess I'm still trying to get a feel on, are people getting sufficient respite care? Where are we in the scale of being able to support people well enough, adequately enough, or poorly? So just some context on where we sit, really.
So we are able to support people in terms of from a respite provision. We do have individuals, we've got waiting lists. So I've shared waiting list numbers here before. I'm pleased to say that they are reducing down, and we are prioritising any carers as well where we're seeing a carer breakdown. So we're working in terms of regional teams at the moment, but we're always accessing respite on a weekly basis, on a daily basis for individuals, and that can look very different depending on the needs of the individual and what the actual requirement is for.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask you as well, you just said the carer, so if the carer wanted to have a bit of respite, or if the carer needs something, so does the carer they have to pay for it though? You didn't mention that bit.
No, they would get a direct payment.
Oh, they
would get a direct payment, a personal budget in their own right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I ask where this information is? Is it readily available? We have to remember there are many people who are not online, and I think in this society we're in today, we assume everyone's going to just go on a website. Is it readily available? Oh, wonderful. You've got one for each, yeah?
Well, I don't know how many it would be here, but I can get them out. We have boxes of them. So we have carer packs, and we're about to improve on those carer packs when the next come back to a whole booklet. But the information is either available through us or through contacting adult social care. So either way, it can come. But we have the carer packs for basic information, and then we can go from there. And we can pass on referrals, which is what we would do. We would have to do for respite care anyway.
What I was thinking is like out in reception, all the receptions of all the authorities, some people just like to, on their own, because they are the unsung heroes. There's no doubt about that, and they really are. And we wouldn't be able to survive without these amazing people who do so much. So just like to say, please pass that to them, because they really are amazing. Okay, Councillor Bruce.
As always with these services, sometimes it's a problem actually making people aware that these services exist. I've become aware of people in workplaces. Obviously, with the current climate, there are people who are supporting people with mental health issues who do have to work, and so they're not available at the times when these talking cafes and things are going on.
And I just wondered what ways have you got for accessing those people within the workplaces? Do we maybe work with, I don't know, the Chamber of Commerce or people like that to try and get information out into the workplaces so that those people can be accessed as well? So I've started a couple of things, and I've been the lead now for a year, so it's taken a while to get in. But I've done two things. One is with the Chamber of Commerce, certainly in Taunton, I've made connections and have now got the details of particularly the bigger employers to go and have like hopefully they will have like a forum where I can go, and a daytime forum where they should be eligible to go and get some help that I can join and go to an online meeting. I've actually done that with the council. So May, June time last year. So there is actually a monthly forum for unpaid carers as part of Somerset Council. So I talked to them. They've got the packs and they've got the digital version of those packs. And the other thing that we're doing, we start on the 30th of April, because obviously at the moment our service is a daytime service, but we're looking at extending that service and working out how we can do that. And the very first evening carer group starts in Bridgewater. It's at Victoria Hub from the April the 30th. So we're making progress on that, and that was part of the new contract, and we're now making progress on that. So I'm in contact with the Chamber of Commerce and different places, and we've got our first evening group starting.
And just to add from a Somerset Council point of view, we do have our carers employment policy, and you sort of obviously legally entitled to carers leave, as you'll know. Something I'm interested in exploring with HR colleagues is when people apply to work for us, we require people to complete equality, diversity monitoring information. On there, I would like to understand people who identify as a carer, so we can be proactive in a discreet, non-pushy way. We can be responsible as employers and make sure that they are aware of the support that's there for them. And also equip our managers and supervisors so that when we have our one-to-ones, we can talk about the broader well-being that we do talk about with staff if somebody does identify as a carer. And again, coming full circle, maybe raising that profile of do you have a caring responsibility at home? It's not just, you are a parent, you're a spouse, but actually you are doing care unpaid. So how can we support you?
Certainly, yes, come. I would expect those things to be happening within Somerset Council because we're all, aware of these services. I think it's really important that we raise awareness with employers, general, large, small, medium-sized employers, that everybody is aware that anybody within their workforce may be a carer, and just to raise that awareness that, they need to be open to those conversations with them. Thank you.
I have to say this has been very informative because I was a carer and didn't realise caring for a lovely neighbour I loved very dearly, dear lady, and I was doing it for years and years and years. And sometimes you don't realise what you're doing. You're doing it as part of a friendship. You're doing it as part of looking after somebody. Doesn't mean you don't become. And this is what I'm saying. Awareness is very, very crucial. I think that's good. Councillor Chilcott, please.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, a huge shout out to all of our carers in Somerset. We all owe them a debt of gratitude. And secondly, having been a carer, it's probably the most challenging thing I've done in my life. And I don't underestimate the pressure that it puts on individuals. Just for me, a couple of things that I found useful when I was a carer. You feel a bit lost sometimes and inadequate. And that's having buddies. I had a friend that had been through and been a carer and had been through the process and the support. And I found for me the most valuable thing at that time was actually having someone to talk to that understood and was there and had been in the same place and could give you some really practical help and hints. So the next thing to say is that it's a huge shout out to our paid carers in Somerset. We had someone in to undertake personal care for the relative we were caring for. And I think the wonderful comment I had one day when I was talking about things to to him. He said, I'm here not only to do the personal care, but to make sure you're okay. And that conversation for me was valuable. So just to say at this moment, a huge thank you to our paid carers as well, that will be there giving sort of help and support to those homes where caring is going on. Last comment around no wrong door. The challenge is knowing which door to look for. And I think we hear no wrong door a lot, but when you are absolutely embroiled in it and it's wearing you out and you're tired, often the last thing you do is go looking for help. So for me, it needs to be really obvious. It needs to be out there. I have had a look at the carers pack. I think there's much that can be improved in it. But just thanks for all those that are out there living it and that might be feeling very tired and run down, just to let them know there is support, and please, 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 whomever you are, reach out. And some of the good advice I got from my buddy, and I'll call them a buddy, actually changed and helped relieve pressures on me by just changing a few things. That's the bit that's important, how we can change and improve the lives of carers. And help and support them in every way that we can. And sorry, I've just noticed I've got the seagull in the background. That was from a meeting yesterday. I will change it. Thank you.
Maybe you might lose it. I was just a bit worried. Thank you very much, Councillor Chilcott. Thank you. Thank you. I think the carer, Councillor Chilcott mentioned about there could be some improvements. Is that the carers pack or is that just the carers information? Sorry, I keep doing that.
Was that me?
I had sight of the pack. There wasn't a huge amount in it, if I'm honest.
The carers packs have been out probably sort of like 18 months, so now we know what we can improve upon, and it's actually going to be a booklet, so quite a big booklet with a lot more information. We're going to include we've got Dementia Alliance coming on board with us, and so it'll have like a full service. Also like Carers UK, so it's going to have much more information in it, and we're putting that together now we've come past April and everybody's new budgets. We're going to be putting that together over the next sort of like couple of months. So these, we have to use up what we've got, and in the meantime we will be sort of like improving upon that. Yeah,
that's really good to hear. Very good to hear, because I think as councillors, people think we're the police, we're the NHS, we're everything. So I think having a book with everything in on this area would be really wonderful. Councillor Nicholson.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. I want to talk about young carers, but just beforehand, I want to say that I had it very easy as a carer when my aunt lived with me for the last couple of years of her life, but it was about one of the most rewarding times of my life. And there was something very special about it, and we shouldn't, I think, ever ignore that bit as well. What I want to ask about is the how you talk in the report about young carers, but I think the definition of a carer changes when you're 18. From somebody who is doing more than would be expected of a child in normal circumstances to something very different. How are we supporting that sort of transition? And the other bit about young carers is we really want to support voluntary carers as well as paid carers to go on as long as possible for particularly for carers for elderly people. The point about young carers is we'd really like them not to have to do that. We'd like them to get on with their lives. So we're doing something, there's something quite different going on. And perhaps could you talk a little bit about that?
A little, yes, as in it's not in my gift. There's a team, I'm sure you know, within Children's Services who look at young carers. You're so right that the role itself changes, the perception changes, the services change, like as we see with all sorts of things, don't we, from children to adults. And that's definitely an area where we're trying to get closer. So sort of me within commissioning for adults, with my equivalent in children's services, we're meeting together regularly
okay, meeting's a meeting. But we are starting to look at some of those routes, look at some of that communication. And there are some monies that are available specifically for young carers, for example. And we're trying to start those conversations where we can with the carers themselves. About what do they need, what do they want, and to reflect back your point as well, that it can be a rewarding time. And we hear that from we've heard that in our last engagement with some young carers actually, about yes, they would like more support, but what they wanted wasn't necessarily always to go do something else. Often they wanted to do something with their family member, with the parents, maybe they were providing care for, or the sibling. So there's very much a sense of a privilege being in that role at times. So I agree with you, we should never lose that. I think you also asked about sort of keeping people in the role, maybe not young carers, but you know, as we're adults. And the longevity of that. We do need to look at preventative approaches. And we talked about some of that, whether that's respite, but also very much looking at making contingency plans. And I was talking with our colleagues who are based in some of the acute hospital settings yesterday about trying to make sure we have that conversation as early doors as possible when we're going out and doing carers assessments. We talk about, so what happens if you as the carer, if you have an emergency admission to hospital, or you know, even a planned one, what happens then? What happens to the person that you're cared for? What's your choice? What can we put in? Let's do the thinking now while life is relatively calm, and we have a bit of space. Let's do that now. Let's get that logged. Let's make sure that's on our records and on our systems so we can access that and things swing into action, rather than emergency provision being put in place and people scrabbling about, increasing anxiety of the person who's going into hospital or wherever, as well as the cared for. And just as a by the by, one member of staff also took it upon themselves to design an emergency care for pets plan, because they are part of a lot of families. So yeah, I thought that was quite important actually.
No, Chairman, just briefly, I suppose the bit that's most worrying is the children are no longer children. The eligibility, quite a lot of them will no longer be eligible because of the status of the people they're caring for. How do we help them as adults? It's not the young, so much not the young carers. How do we help them as adults move on in life when the support they have had can't be there anymore?
I would say obviously there's a lot of work we can do, and we do in terms of preparing for adulthood. So anyone within the social care system, as they change children's to adults, because it's very different. But I think maybe what you're saying to me is making me think we should focus on that question a bit more, because I don't have anywhere near a gold-plated answer for you. So I think it's very worth me taking that back to that working group actually to start talking about that a bit more.
Very good.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's lovely when something happens provoking, isn't it? They can bring something else on. I think that's marvelous. I think you're absolutely right, Councillor Nicholson, as well. That I cared for my father-in-law at the end of his life, and I did feel I'd done my best for him. I always thought he thought I was a bit of a pain, but he did want to come to live with me, so I couldn't have been that bad. But there is rewards as well, isn't there? There really is, yeah. So I think Councillor Woods would be the last speaker, I think.
Just very quickly, if you get to the point with a carer and you end up with end of life care, is there any transition afterwards about accepting that situation? You're no longer the carer. The person you've cared for has passed on, but you're left. That's it. What happens then? Is there any help there?
Yeah, our service goes on. So because your caring has stopped, we are very happy to still work with that person. We have a lot of people that have cared for people that are coming to our carer groups. And that's invaluable because they can offer, they offer like Councillor that mentioned a buddy. So we have that, we can offer that. We also, they're very, we follow up with telephone calls as well. But yeah, we very much do not stop because the caring stops. If they want the support, we will carry on that support for as long as they need it. Yeah.
Lovely. Well, thank you very much. I think whilst we haven't got recommendations today, I think we've had a very informative morning, and I think that's very, very good. I've learned a lot today. I would like to ask you if you could come back. Please give our very kind wishes to Gillian and Philip. We're very sorry. And perhaps you can come back with your video next time. I don't think it's working yet, is it? No.
I might be able to get it.
Oh, you might be able to get. Oh, look, it's Netflix extra. Come on.
We could certainly share a link to it when it is uploaded officially, if you'd like us to do so afterwards.
What do you want to do? Max, is it better?
Try.
Oh, we'll give it a go. I'll give it a go. If everybody doesn't mind, because we have a 12 o'clock, but if you don't mind, this would be great.
It's 4 minutes, 59 seconds, I believe, because Chrissy gave them a brief of 5 minutes maximum.
What I was going to say, it would be nice if you can come back there within, say, 6 months, come back to us. Let us know how things are going. Progressing. It's a very important factor, all right?
I don't think
Possibly, when you come back next time, but you can send us the link, that'll be great.
Yeah.
But also it'd be good, you know, this is always difficult with a, you know, isn't it? You know, so thank you very much today. Thank you very much. I think he's just left the room, but I just wanted to thank Christian and obviously thank Emily, Sarah, two Sarahs, and obviously yourself. Thank you for coming today. Thank you, members. It's been a very good meeting. I think the next meeting we need to do though is actually consider what we can send for a recommendation. We need to really think hard about how we're going to recommend things for the executive, but this today wasn't the time. But I thank you so much for accepting me back, and thank you very much. And thank you, Christian. You missed my great speech about how good you were. There you go. It's gone now, you've missed it.
I'm
Thank
so
you.
sorry, the post came.
Thank you.
I didn't hear you.